Hey, this is Dino. Welcome back. In today's mini lecture, we're going to look at David Lazer's The Science of Fake News. Don't lie, you know it's good girl. Um, this first part quote deals with mass media trust and how it's dissolved. Quote, general trust in the mass media collapsed to historic lows in 2016, especially on the political right, with 51% of Democrats and 14% of Republicans expressing a fair amount or a great deal of trust in mass media as a news source. Another study reported that false information on Twitter is typically retweeted by many more people and far more rapidly than true information, especially when the topic is politics. My two questions, and again, it's nice to pause if you want to think about them on your own. First is, why the collapse in trust in mass media? And the second question is, how do we restore this trust? There are a ton of reasons about this decrease in trust. There are too many to list. I have a couple here. I think one of the things that I found personally has been a bit difficult is the rise in opinion journalism, where you have cable news networks having hard news in the daytime, opinion more at night, and I think that kind of has messed with the straight fact-based news that people have been grown up and believed in and watched for years. Social media also, I think, there's more critiques by social media of straight up news, as well as providing a diversion of a diversity of news sources. As well, there's been partisan divisions that I think have increased, and as you see here, Republicans really have a big distrust in mass media. How do we restore this trust? That is a long-term goal that will not be fixed anytime soon. Obviously, I think some things to deal with are greater fact-based journalism, less opinion in news environments, less social media news. Like Facebook just recently changed the name of its news feed from newsfeed to just feed. And then also, I would highly suggest weeding out bad actors, those people who willingly share misinformation and fake news. That's a really difficult problem. There are some bigger social trends that have contributed to the rise of fake news. Quote, geographic polarization of partisan preferences has dramatically increased over the past 40 years, reducing opportunities for cross-cutting political interaction. 2, homogeneous social networks in turn reduce tolerance for alternative views, amplify attitudinal polarization, boost the likelihood of accepting ideologically compatible news, and increase closure to new information. How do we diversify homogeneous social networks? You might want to pause to think about that. It would be great if we sort of adopted there used to be this idea of a fairness doctrine where you had balanced arguments. Pushing both sides ideologically of different news stories would be fantastic. As well, algorithms just pushing bipartisan news. So if you're reading only one side of the aisle, pushing the other side. Although that also is premised a bit on the receiver actually somehow being open to that, which is a bigger kettle of fish to fry. Dealing with fake news is pretty complex. Here's a quote. Research on fluency, the information recall, and familiarity bias in politics shows that people tend to remember information or how they feel about it while forgetting the context within which they encountered it. Moreover, they are more likely to accept familiar information as true. There is thus a risk that repeating false information, even in a fact-checking context, may increase an individual's likelihood of accepting it as true. So how can we deal with this problem with fluency and this problem with familiarity bias? I think there's one way. Try our best to have fake news prevented to begin with. Once it's out there, fluency and familiarity bias sort of push that and make it more spreadable, more believable, etc., etc. Bots complicate the situation. Here's one quote. By one recent estimate that classified accounts based on observable features such as sharing behavior, number of ties, and linguistics features, between 9 and 15% of active Twitter accounts are bots, by over 10%. Facebook estimated that as many as 60 million bots may be infesting its platform. So there is definitely a bot problem on major social media platforms. 2 questions. What do you think is a social bot? And what is the jeopardy posed by bot activity? Again, you may want to pause here. A bot is an automated account impersonating human beings, so it kind of tricks people into believing that they might be interacting with a human when it's in fact a social bot. And what is the jeopardy posed by them? These autonomous internet activities can overwhelm human activity. And I talked about this in another video about the idea of the inversion, where there's just more bot-generated traffic online, or the potential, than human activity, and then that's not going to be good. Social platforms can unfortunately be fake news amplifiers. Quote, about 47% of Americans overall report getting news from social media, often or sometimes with Facebook as by far the dominant source. Social media are key conduits for fake news sites. Indeed, Russia successfully manipulated all of the major platforms during the 2016 U.S. election, according to recent congressional testimony. I'm not saying that it caused people to vote in a particular way. That's a slightly different story, but it appears very clearly that at least manipulated and did things on social media platforms. So the two questions here are: what is the problem from getting news from social media? And two, the impact of foreign actors in domestic elections. One of the, again, this we talked about this in another video. When you get more news from social media, there's less fact checking. When you're getting it on these, when you're getting sources of news that may not be reputable, people are just too busy to fact check, so that can be a problem. There's obviously less professional curation than if you're getting your news from a straight news website. And also, they're more bad actors, people that are manipulating news consciously is higher than from traditional news platforms. And then the impact of foreign actors in domestic elections, they can lower voter trust, and then this can create divisions in the population, which we've seen over and over again over the last couple of years in multiple countries. So that's been a bit of a bummer up to this point. So do you have any good news to deal with this? And there's a couple here from Lazer's article. One is algorithms. Platforms could provide consumers with signals of source quality that could be incorporated into the algorithmic rankings of content, and also they can minimize personalization of political information relative to other types of content, reducing the creation of echo chambers. So then you're having more or less of a homogeneous group of people looking at content. And also for bots. Functions that emphasize currently trending content could seek to exclude bot activity from measures of what is trending, or generally platforms could curb the automated spread of news content by bots and cyborgs, users who automatically share news from a set of sources with or without reading them. Again, using technical means like algorithms and bots can help. And I would also advocate higher amounts of digital literacy, and for political situations, more digital citizenship education. That was David Lazer's The Science of Fake News. As always, thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.